doctor, again, last year I was going through a pretty bad flare up, and the doctor had put me on methotrexate because, again, based on your how badly off you are, there's certain drugs that you can use at different phases. So with all what I'm telling you, again, I'm still grateful because I'm on the lowest end of it, right?
Welcome to the Shan and Tam Show. Welcome back, Shan and Tam fam. We're back again with you this week where we're continuing our conversation with Taihisa about the very important topic of living with lupus. We had some amazing discussion. We learned about the disease, about living with it. And so we want to hear more from Taihisa just about her business, her daily life, and we're not going to waste any time again.
No, we're
going
to
to
get right
into it, fam. Welcome back, and let's welcome Taihisa again.
And talking about your daughter and your family, that's the next question I had in terms of how has your family dealt with the diagnosis? Because it's not just you.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I will start with my husband. I don't know if he has accepted it or accepted the level of effect that it has. I mean, he has seen how I have changed over the years, because I've never been a person to depend on someone, and I'm still not that type. So I would drag my butt up and do what I have to do, even on days when it's really difficult. But in terms of support, like if I tell him I can't do it, okay, something really wrong that you can't do it, right? My daughter, I had to teach her, because a few times she would have said to me, "Oh, you're lazy. You just want to stay in bed all day," right? And so I had to kind of teach her about lupus and what it means and what it does. And so now she went from doing that to being like, if she see I can't move, "You want me to take water for you? Do you want me to do this?" Or I would call her to help me get dressed, or she would see that I can't get dressed, she'll get certain things for me. So that has changed. My parents have been pretty good, maybe the most supportive. So like, again, days I can't get up, when it's my mom there, she'll make sure the house is clean, clothes is washed, food is cooked. I would get like my breakfast in bed and all these kind of things. So my dad is pretty much the same as well. Like, go rest yourself. I will do this. I'll take care of me and things like that. So they've been overall very supportive during these couple of years.
Yeah, that's good. And thank God for family.
Right.
Thank God for family and your village.
Definitely.
Outside of your family, though, what other supports do you have available to support you with the changes and with the disease? Do you have any other supports that you can tap on?
So back home in Dominica, again, we had the Lupus Foundation. In Trinidad, I didn't have anything. Since being here in Canada, we started a WhatsApp group with Black women with the lupus, and that has been a really nice group. And it's just me. I put out a post, like 6 women responded. We started a WhatsApp group, and we've been doing that ever since. Different age range from like 20s to 40s, and all of us just participate. And if you're going through something, you just send a message of, "You guys been through this, how about this medication," and stuff like that. So that has been pretty good. I think I like Canada the most because there are resources available that you can use, right? And not to mention the doctor visits are free. And if you have lupus,
Before it changes.
I know.
not good, let it stay that way. You're grateful for that, because back home I had to do, and even still here, you do your blood work every 3 months, right? And blood work back home used to cost me anywhere from $300 to like $600 every 3 months,
Yeah.
based again on what's going on and what tests they need to take. In Canada, I'm grateful that I can do that and walk out without a bill, right? Um, and majority of the tests that we do, it's covered by OHIP. So you don't really have to worry about that. So that has been like a tremendous help and support. We have like even meeting people like you guys, right, Shan? And inviting me to prayer groups and stuff like that. You have those kind of support. And I also have a counselor that I can speak with. There's another one, she's an occupational therapist and a nutritionist. That's all these I get pretty much free of charge from a community center, right? You wouldn't have had those resources readily available for you back in the Caribbean and free of charge. So the occupational therapist has helped me a lot, because earlier this year, like, it was just a battle with being able to sit down and stand up. Like, that was just a struggle. And I don't know if it was the change from kind of being on the move to just being sitting down all day, every day as a result of COVID, right? So that transition was tough. So these are pretty much the groups that I've been connected with, and just personally doing meditation, journaling, and getting to know God. If anything has helped me through this journey, is my relationship with God. Honestly, yeah. Yes.
That's amazing, Taihisa. That's amazing. And it's good that you have all these other support system, because you need to tap into everything to refill you. Right?
Yes.
How would you describe the healthcare system response to the disease?
Here in Canada, or just generally?
That's general.
Yeah, general.
Okay.
You've been in different places. So how would, on a general lens, how would you describe the healthcare system response?
Back home, again, limited resources. The doctors were aware of what is lupus, but then we don't have a rheumatologist. And a rheumatologist is the doctor for someone with lupus. So if you think of lupus, think of someone with arthritis, think of someone with rheumatoid arthritis. We all pretty much have the same doctors, right? So there's no specialist in Dominica for that. So that in itself was a struggle. Just my general doctor would have been the one kind of working with me. Then when I moved to Trinidad, we had a rheumatologist, but my rheumatologist was an Indian man. And I'm like, not much of a connection here. But he still was able to, I guess, deal with me, right? Since coming to Canada, my general practitioner put me in touch with a rheumatologist, and she ended up being a Black woman from Guyana. And that was, I love her. Her name is Dr. Di Torrington. I love you if you ever listen to this. She's amazing, because from the time I walked into her office and she looked at me, she looked at my knuckles and she said, the medication is darkening your skin.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, I've passed through like 3 different rheumatologists and nobody told me this.
Exactly.
Right? And it's not that they're not good, but it's understanding, your clientele. And she would look at me and she'd be like, stop putting gel nails on, because the lights that you put your hands in for when you're doing your nails, it actually triggers the lupus symptoms, right? So I actually had to get a particular glove that I put on to protect my joints when I go get my nails done. So just little things like that. She would watch my hair and be like, okay, use this, your hair is thinning. Like, she would tell me all those things. So I'm grateful for her hair. And again, I think overall the system in Canada has just been the best that I've been exposed to tell you the honest truth. Again, being able to do, because in Trinidad, I had to pay for all those tests every month. That was about 1,200 Trinidadian dollars, right? And again, in Canada, it has kind of lessened the worries that you have financially, right? Because lupus is a very expensive disease. And the fact that you can get to do so much without having to worry about that doctor's bill,
Yes.
that in itself is a weight off your shoulders. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about, some of the things you've experienced. What are some of the complications that can occur as a result of having the disease, Taihisa?
So everything and anything, because the fact that it's autoimmune and it's affecting your healthy tissues, nothing prevents it from affecting anything, right? And I think, like I was saying, one of my biggest impacts was just thinking that, what are you affecting today? But you would find, so again, your organs, and your organs is your skin, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys. So it will affect all of those or any of those, right? The body pains, the joint pains, the muscle pains. Being anemic is something really big with lupus patients. So again, that would cause like the low energy in us. So always being up with your iron is something really big. Blood clots, memory issues, sores in your mouth, in your ears, in your nose, the hair loss, which we spoke about that I experienced, the rashes all over your body, or again, the butterfly rash, which really appears right there. Or there's something called moon face, where your face just kind of blows up to like a nice round reddish face. Fevers, like you name it, lupus does. Last year, I started experiencing allergic reactions. I don't know what I'm allergic to. And I had gone through this whole naturopath journey and just eating clean. And I was just getting like a stick, but I did not know what was causing the allergic reactions. And I'm like, you know what? You would have to give me the allergic reactions because I'm eating everything. And even while I'm talking to you guys, I'm feeling my fingers scratching me, and I don't know if you could see it, but I'm seeing this finger starting to swell up. That's how it would start. Like I would just start to feel an itch. I will start to scratch, and before you know it, that section of my body just and the doctor said to me, it's a result of lupus, and he gave me this name. So it's anybody, anything, and it's different. And that's why it's so hard to diagnose, because you would go to a doctor and they would be like, this sounds like cancer, and it's not. Or this sounds like multiple sclerosis, and it's not. And it's so hard to diagnose, and early detection saves life. So anybody listening to this who thinks like certain things I'm saying is speaking to them, go get it checked. Because I'm grateful that, that was the stage that I was diagnosed, and I'm able to have had a good pregnancy. I remember being in the hospital when I was giving birth to Mia, and there was like, I remember it like maybe I was in heaven, like I don't even know, but it was so surreal. There was this lineup of people all in white, all different types of doctors, because of the risk of a lupus pregnancy. And as soon as that child was born and she cried, everything disappeared. And I was just left with one nurse and one doctor. And I'm like, why are all these people there? And they're like, that's backup in case anything goes wrong.
It happened.
Yes.
This is a lot. You're teaching us so much today. Just listening to you, like I was like, you're so brave. I would just want to applaud you, because as Tam says, as parents, you don't start to think about certain things until you start having children. But for you, you're truly an overcomer, because you're doing so much and you're living with this and you're making the best of it. So more power to you.
I mean, I've known a couple people who have been diagnosed with it, but admittedly, I did not know like all the ins and outs of these issues surrounding the disease and what someone would be suffering. It's quite intense, you know?
Yes.
So we really do applaud you for that. And we thank you too for taking the space and the time to help us to educate ourselves and others about it.
And to be vulnerable and to talk about it.
Yes. One of the things I'm curious about are the treatment options. So what are some of the options available?
So lupus has a limited number of drugs. And I don't know if you guys remembered, Donald Trump was talking about the hydroxychloroquine, which is a lupus drug, and they were saying that it's good for COVID, right? No, this was pretty scary because, again, there's a limited number of drugs that can actually treat. So there's no cure for lupus, but it's treatable, right? And there's a limited number of drugs that can treat us. And so when he said that, there started to be a shortage of that particular drugs. Now, we already don't have options. So if there's a shortage, it became a scare. So I remember going to my doctor, the pharmacist, I think, and they're like, no, don't worry, we're good. We can refill you for a couple of months. And I'm like, okay, thank you. But some of the drugs there's something called a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, or it's also called an NSAIDs, NSAIDs. And think of things like ibuprofen, like Advil and stuff like that, which is really for pain management. But something like Advil does nothing for me. Taking Advil is like taking a candy. It does nothing for me, not even the extra strength, right? These drugs, though, can cause heart issues. So it's like you're taking it for lupus, yes, but then you're even exposing your heart more. Yes, there's the anti-malarial drugs. So these are drugs that I use for people with malaria. This is the same one we're talking about, the hydroxychloroquine for the COVID, which would make sense, right? It's also called Plaquenil. Now, this is the drug that actually darkens my skin. So I would have noticed like around my eyes, like really black, and my fingertips, my knuckles getting really dark, my elbows, like all your joints would be getting really dark. This drug also affects your eyes. So I have to see an ophthalmologist pretty regular as well for that. So this is the one I'm on, and it's usually like the most basic drugs for anyone with lupus. Then we have the corticosteroids, which are it's a steroid, like prednisone. Prednisone affects your bones. It thins out your bones. So we have to ensure that, a diet rich in calcium is really good for someone with lupus. And then the other one is what we call immunosuppressants. And you might hear names like Cellcept and Imuran and methotrexate. Methotrexate is actually a chemotherapy drug, right? And so you find that a lot of chemotherapy drugs are actually used on patients with lupus. But these drugs, again, increase your risk to cancer, increase your risk to liver damage. So how they say, you damned if you do and you damned if you don't, right? So it's like you're taking these drugs, but you also have to monitor other things because these drugs can cause that. So I remember I've been on hydroxychloroquine and prednisone for a while, maybe ever since I was diagnosed. The prednisone you find that someone will take when they're going through a flare-up. So it's kind of like a drug you don't stay on long-term. But I've been on prednisone for the past year and a half consistently, and I want to get off that drug. So what I decided to do, I decided to try the weed oil. So I met with a cannabis doctor, and she's using the weed oil to treat a lot of her older patients with rheumatoid arthritis. And I started that process, and that has been the only thing that has helped me to get off the prednisone and just use the weed oil. So I've been doing that for the past, I want to say maybe 6 months, maybe since COVID. That has been helping me with my pain management routine. I'm not a doctor to recommend recommend it, but anyone who's looking to, to get off the steroids, I recommend seeing a cannabis doctor first and working the dosages out with her. And it doesn't have the HTC, which is the component that makes you high. It only has the CBD, which helps with it, and that has been
the inflammation and stuff.
correct. Yes. The doctor, again, last year I was going through a pretty bad flare-up, and the doctor had put me on methotrexate because, again, based on how badly off you are, there's certain drugs that you can use at different phases.
Okay.
So with all what I'm telling you, again, I'm still grateful because I'm on the lowest end of it, right? And it seems that the hydroxychloroquine wasn't working for me anymore. But you couldn't put me on anything else because they're too advanced. I'm not at that level for them. Hopefully never will be. And so I started taking methotrexate. But the more I read up on this thing is the more I'm seeing it's a chemo drug, and it's the more I'm seeing it can damage your kidneys and your liver. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not taking this. Yes. And I'm one of those people that's very stubborn about taking medication. And I just said to her, you know what? It's been maybe 3 months. I maybe took this thing one time. I'm not taking it anymore. And then she put me back on my hydroxychloroquine.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Taihisa, I'm just lost for words. Right? I'm just lost for words because even with having this disease and the difficulties and everything that you have gone through, the traveling, the flare-ups, you have achieved some amazing things in your life. And we want to highlight that.
Yeah.
So please tell us about other parts of yourself other than lupus. What are some of the things that you achieved in your life?
All right. So, like I said, I finished school at 17, high school. At 21, I had my bachelor's. At 23, I had my master's. I've done some pretty cool jobs, I would say, with my background. So I was a construction manager with a telecommunications company back home. So imagine being a 23-year-old girl managing some 50-year-old men who've been in the industry for years. Sitting down in meetings with, general managers from the US with their $1 million of budget and stuff like that. So that was a pretty amazing point in my life. After leaving that job, I don't think I'm meant to be an employee. And, there's people who's comfortable with that, and that's okay. But I don't like being told what to do. I don't like being micromanaged. I like to run my own show, right? And back then, again, I still wasn't diagnosed. Then I left that job, and that was a 6-figure job, and I went to teaching because I figured I would have had the time to do my own thing while I taught. But then again, back home, limited resources, I found myself doing a lot more, just trying to get a curriculum and resources to teach a class, right? So I was always writing grants. I was always looking for funding. I was always doing this and doing that I couldn't focus on my own. Now, what changed me from teaching, very sad story. I had a small group of students doing geography, and one particular student of mine committed murder.
Wow.
And he stabbed a woman over 30-something times and killed her. And again, a small group of students, so I was really close with my students. And when they arrested him, he had 2 phone calls to make. One he made to his mom and his grandmother, and the other one was to me.
Wow.
And that freaked me out so bad. And I'm like, Lord Jesus, I'm not cut up for this. And I left teaching and just went full-time being an entrepreneur. So with my GIS background, geology background, I did a lot of consulting. So I was doing consulting with a geothermal company back in Dominica because we were doing, we were testing sites for geothermal energy. That company is from Iceland. Then I did projects with World Bank, with Food and Agriculture Association, so FAO, with UN, United Nations. I've traveled the Caribbean to do, yes. I've been to El Salvador, I've been to Dominican Republic, just doing like training projects based on the different projects that I was working on. I did climate change projects. So I've done fun projects, right?
Right.
And came to Canada and I started working with a school board. And that was in 2018. And so I lived in Scarborough, worked in Oshawa, and I had to bring my daughter to school 7 o'clock in the morning to pick her up 6 o'clock at night, right? This is a 4-year-old child. And 2019, again, worst year ever for me. And I took a week off. And I remember my coworker saying to me, she's never seen a Black person get so pale, right? This is how drained I was. Took a week off from work, went back to work the following week, fell sick again. So clearly it was a job. Fell sick again, and HR sends me a letter. You either file for disability, you either take a pay cut, or every time you're sick, you get a doctor's note. So I'm like, okay, let's deal with those 3 points. Number one, I'm not disabled. It's called a flare-up. So it happens every now and then. Secondly, a pay cut from what? You're paying me enough to just maintain my car between Scarborough and Oshawa. What are you gonna cut
from that?
Right? And then the final thing is, lupus is not like getting the flu, where you can feel a sore throat coming on and be like, you know what, I think I'm getting sick. I can't come in today. I'm going to see a doctor. No, it's like I'm sitting here with you guys. Like I said, my hand started scratching me. Before I know it, my finger is swollen. It happens like that, right? I could be sitting down here, and when I'm done with you guys and I want to get up, maybe I can't get up. You don't know, right? And so I said, it's not something that I can just call a doctor and get a note today for today. Most times it takes 3, 4, even a week to get a doctor's appointment. So I'm like, this is not for me. I'm done. And I was introduced to the business opportunity while I was only 6 months in Canada. Again, I just saw ownership. I saw entrepreneurship, and I'm like, this is me. I'm game. But again, you come to Canada to make a good life for your family, to not be average and ordinary. I can be average and ordinary on a beach right now, sipping on some rum or something, or a nice pina colada, right? In the Caribbean, I don't need to be that in Canada in a -2 degrees weather, right? And so I'm like, this is not for me. And 2019, August, I made a promise. I'm not bringing my child back to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm picking her up at 6. And I went full time in my business. And since then, I've just been building and building and building despite anything, despite being in a completely cold market. Because again, I'm still, fresh out the boat, right? Newcomer. And I did all my licenses. I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed mutual fund advisor. 2020 actually has been a pretty good year for me, because the other day I was like, what did I achieve in 2020? And I started writing on. I was like, oh, not bad. And there's something I always wanted to do, was to be an immigration consultant. And so in March, that was the last time they were offering the classes at different schools in Ontario. Come maybe next year. It should have started already, but because of COVID, they prolonged it. It's only going to be offered in Queen's University in Kingston. So that would mean I would have to move. And it's no longer going to be a 6-month course. It's going to be an 18-month course. And so I jumped on the opportunity. I was like, what do I have to lose, right? Like, some things you just don't need to think about it too much. Just get up and do it, right? And so I did that, and I'm like, Lord Jesus, six months. How am I going to drop my daughter? How am I going to pick her up? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm like, God, I place it in your hands. You figure it out. And I did it. And COVID happened the next week. Everything shut down. So I was able to do everything from home as an online class, right? And I tell you, God works. He works. And so I completed my diploma this year. The license again pushed till next year, so I'll be doing that next year. And I did my internship with an immigration consultant all the way in London, Ontario. So I'm working remotely because I'm in Markham, Ontario. And I'm stuck with her. She's like, "You're not leaving me, right?" And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna open your Toronto office for you." She's like, "I love to hear this."
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so this has been my achievements for this year. And like I said, just getting closer to God, giving God his praises every day, reading my Bible, meditating, and just giving thanks. That has been a real aim for me this year. And it's something that I must say I've accomplished. Still a work in progress, but a lot further from where I used to be. And people like to just leave things for tomorrow, leave things for tomorrow, leave things for tomorrow. Tomorrow isn't ours.
Right.
Later today is not ours, much less for tomorrow, right? And just stop overthinking and doubting ourselves. And there's something I really, really learned this year was faith and fear cannot live in the same house.
Yes.
Either you have faith and you trust God and know he's going to work, or you doubt his capabilities. Because if you fear, it means you don't believe that God can do what you think he can do, right? And so the minute you start to fear, you have to change your mindset. Am I believing in God or am I doubting God?
Yes.
Right? And I've seen God work in my life, and I cannot have fear. And people would always be like, "Oh, you're so fearless, you're just going. Oh, I wish I was like you." No, don't wish you're like me. You really don't want to be like me, right? But it's like you have to take the opportunities that you're given and just go do it. Like, stop thinking, stop doubting, stop listening to people. Just have your faith in God, make your plan, and execute. That's all you have to do, right? It's really not that difficult, because you're gonna wake up tomorrow and be like, "Oh my God," like me with the immigration consulting, I'm now looking at like 6 months done already.
Right.
This was 6 months I was worrying about back in March, right? Look at it, it's done, I'm completed, and I'm like, wow, 6 months really flew, right? But someone else would have been thinking, "Oh, those 6 months, oh, those 6 months." No, let God deal with everything you're thinking of and just do what you have to do, right? And this is, honest to God, this is the ultimate mindset that you have. We have limited time on this earth. And I think it all stems from people not appreciating the time that they have on earth and just thinking, we always have time. No, we don't. Right? No, we don't.
We don't.
No.
We're on borrowed time.
Exactly. And every time I like always post on my social media that, just reach out to someone that with lupus, or just reach out to someone, period. Because we get angry with people. We turn enemies with people. And 3 years down the line, do you even remember why you're angry with that person? You really don't even remember. And then that person passes on. And then you're like, "Oh my God, I never said this to that person. I never said to that person." Why are you even holding a grudge still? Right? So just send a text, just call someone, say, "Hey, how it's going?" And just kick the old buckets and just move on with life like a free, light heart, because today is not guaranteed.
As you're talking, I was thinking, I follow you on social media, and I'm always so inspired when I see your posts.
She's a comedian.
I'm like,
your posts.
Yes. Today, this, tomorrow, that. Like, I'm always so inspired by your posts. So
Thank you.
You'll make every effort to get people connected with you too.
Absolutely.
Put social media contacts in the description box for the videos when this actually gets posted.
Awesome.
Taihisa, like, I'm so grateful. You have put me also I mean, on a daily basis, I'm grateful, but you've put me on another
Yes.
level of gratitude right now.
Great.
We are grateful to you for actually taking the time to be with us today, for sharing your life with us, for, as Shan said,
Yes.
being vulnerable.
And to be vulnerable, yeah, to let us know, because,
Yeah,
and as Tam said, you don't know until you hear,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
And to walk in my shoes, we're walking in your shoes vicariously. But Taihisa, we applaud you so much.
Yes,
Listening to you, your story, your vulnerability, and you're truly an overcomer.
yes.
So pat yourself on the back, and each day, Tam and I will continue
Yes.
to listen
Yes.
and to call out
Thank you.
to God, because you know what? We are all our brothers and sisters keepers.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You and your family, thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing your life with Shan and Tam and Shan and Tam fam, who will be watching this. And we wish you all the best, Taihisa. Stay safe,
Yes.
Thank you.
well, and just continue to pour out everything that you have in you to the world around you, because it is really making a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, ladies.
Thanks for watching the show today, Shan Tam fam.
Ensure you hit the subscribe button, like, and share this video.
Send the link to a friend in WhatsApp, Facebook, or even Instagram fam. And of course, don't miss when we post a new video, so hit that notifications button.
Yes. Also, check out the details box for this video for all the links for Shan and Tam's social media and blog pages.